today's video, I am going to be showing you all on how to configure your Jira board. As you all know that in my last video, I created a project from scratch, Scrum project in particular. So in today's video, I am going to be showing you all how to configure your board and make it into your own or add more features to make it better for your team. And welcome back to Aisha platform. I'm very happy to have you all again. So let's get into it. So currently in my board, we have our homepage, right? So let me just go back and do a little quick recap, right? My last video, I created this board, Aisha Scrum. So I'm gonna go back to that, and as soon as I click on the project, it brings me back to this homepage. So that's one way for me to look at my project and get it by clicking on the Jira software, go to homepage and you click on your project. Or another way you can do this is to look at the project key on top, in the drop-down arrow, and I have my other projects, and you can now click on your projects from that. That's another way. Another way too is to go to view all projects. When you do come to view all project, and then you can see your project and you click on it and you go to your project. So those are all different ways you can go by your project. So we all now have all of these features on our left-hand side, my left-hand side, maybe for some of you will be your right-hand side. But at the top, you have the roadmap, which is basically when you do create an epic, which later on in my next video, I'm going to show you all how to create an epic, how to create a user story. But if you notice in this roadmap, it has a timeline because roadmaps always have a timeline, right? It gives you the overview on how, as a team, you plan to do your work. And most of the time on this page, you will see epic. And if you do open the epic, then you can see all the stories. As of right now, we do not have any epic or any stories. So we're going to do that later for the next video. So that's just this view. On this view, you have epic, and it has the dates from when you plan to do it. If you look at the bottom, all the way at the bottom, it have it here on like today's date, week, by month, and by quarter. And by quarter, that can also be like for PI, depending on how your program board is set up. And then at top, you have export, like you want to export all your epic out, you can do that. If you want to share, like I'm just going to click on that. It's telling me whose name and email you want to share it, or you copy the link to, you can do that so you can share this page to anyone. And let me click on this three dots. It's telling me if I want to configure the roadmap. In this case, I'm not doing that yet because I'm going to need data to do all of that. When I maybe later on, when I do create the epics, I can come back and see what are other options we can use for that. And view settings. And mind you, when it comes to this big high level setting stuff, you have to like be a Jira admin for the most part, or like your lead or project lead to get most of this future. But in this case, since I'm the project lead and I created this project, I do have more features and more access than regular people might not have. And it's telling me like if I want to configure on this page, if I want to have my epic in 12 months or less, if I want to have a view of 6 months. And when I do that, it makes it smaller. And when you do have it for 12 months, it makes it like the page bigger. And hide all completed epic issues, I can do that. And I can even track dependency, visualize how work stream related to it, better understand your risks, right? Because we always see dependency as risks. And also the progress. So it gives me all these options in this page of this roadmap. So now that we've done with this page, let's go to the backlog view. And under the backlog view, this is what we want to be. This will be one of your most busiest place you'll be as a team. Currently in our backlog view, if you notice, we have our product backlog. I know Jira does not have product backlog, but this backlog means product backlog. And currently our backlog is empty because yes, we do not have an issue type or any stories, bugs, or any of sort in our backlog. I plan to create those in this series of video. So I'm going to do a lot of this Jira series. And then at the top here, if you notice, sometimes what helped me when I was new to help me separate from the product backlog to the sprint backlog, which later on I'm going to create a sprint backlog to show you all how to create a sprint backlog and stuff. You will notice that the difference is that At the top here, you will see create sprint. And sometimes too, if you join a team, I remember sometimes when I join a new company, I'll realize that I have to ask for accesses when I was a Scrum Master. So I'm like, okay, I see my create sprint and it's blur, it's there, but I'm unable to click on it. And if you're a new Scrum Master, you join a new team or you join a company and you saw that you went all the way at the top of the product backlog and you saw the icon of create sprints and you are unable to create it, that's something that it's not given to Scrum Masters. Either can be like the release train engineer or the agile coach will be closing and starting sprints. So it depends on how your company have this set up. So that's something I always will ask access for. So in this case, at the top of every product backlog, you always see create sprints at the top. But in the sprints backlog, you will not see that. So that's one way that helped me to differentiate. And at the top of the sprint backlog, you always see these different colors. The gray, which is to do. In story points, it calculates the overall items that are in to do. In story point, even though I hope over it is saying that, and which is the same thing as not started. So it's like basically sitting in the to do in the sprint backlog. And we have items in progress. It's like in blue column. It's story points total. And we have stuff in green, which is the total completed so far in that sprint. But I'm going to further show you all of that when I do create stories and show you the difference in all of the stuff. So in this case, it's asking me what needs to be done, because why? I did not create a story. So I'll show you all later on in my next video how to create stories and all of that. So that's this view. And here too, this is one new features on Jira. It gives you insight on the sprint commitments, start a sprint to plan with more accuracy. Yes, because we have to start a sprint. And when we do start a sprint, we can always quickly look at this insight to tell how the team are doing. That we're done with the backlog option. The next thing we can go to is the board. So the board is the same thing as the Scrum board, but it looks like a Kanban board, right? Yeah, but this is actually the Scrum board when we do have tickets in progress and sprints, and usually you see those in this space. And when the sprint is active, and when we don't have any sprint, sometimes at work it will be blank. But if we do have a sprint that's active, you will see the tickets either in to do, in progress, or done, depending on how you have your board configured. So this is like codes that's involving if the development team would like to connect a link like their site where they do their work, like GitHub or GitLab. If they want to link those to the code for deployments, yeah, you can see that. And that depends too if the company have that feature, because it depends on how much the company is paying for these services determines what more accesses you will get. And here too, you have project page. If you have other pages, maybe on Confluence, you want to add other usable links, like you want to add your Confluence page, you want to add any other shortcut link to Jira, you can also do that here. I know another thing sometimes too that we have in some board is Agile Poker for estimation. And in this one, I don't think I've paid for that. We don't have the Agile Poker here, but I know for in my company, we do have the Agile Poker on top where the team can use that for estimation. So now that I've went over the whole icons on the left side of each project, and at the top, let's go over those different options so that we have on the top here. We always will have project. That's just showing you maybe any other project or you have in the company or in your teams, or you have any other project you're working on related. And the ones that you visit the most will always show up as under recent. And every other ones will be under view or project. Another quick way to do this is to do view or filters and do advanced or the JQL and all of that, which I'll show you all that later. In dashboard, this is just like if you want to create any other dashboard. I'll show you all later how to create dashboard and how to add gadgets and all those things. And also people, projects, and who do I have in the team and who can have access. I can give people access. There's one way to see that. Another way is to go under the project settings to do that. And if I have any other apps related to this, like I can add my Slack into this channel, because my team, Slack is a tool that we use for communication a lot. And it's very easy and usable, especially for teams that are remote, that are distributed all over. Anyone at any time can chat on there and just continue the communication as a team. And we have the Easy PI, gives more analytic, more data about if creates like cumulative flow diagram, lead time, cycle time. You like to create any more metrics that we do not have those already. Another thing that I noticed that is that I do not have the reports, which is something I'm going to add. Let me go to the project setting. And sometimes, to be honest, we don't deal with all of these. I just want to add that because I know like under here on the futures, it gives me to pick and choose what I want. So far, I already have the roadmap on my site. I have the backlog, I have board, and now I'm going to click on reports, because the reports, that's I'm going to use reports, because in reports, that's where I was able to generate my burn down chart and my velocity and any other metrics I would like to create with that data. We already have the sprints, we already have estimation, and I have my estimation in story points and not in time. And this release, because later on I'm going to talk to you all about releases and stuff. So that's for sure. And deployments, you don't want to deploy that to production and stuff. And call, that's another futures. I think so far I'm happy with this future. And when I go back to my project, I'm going to see all these extra icons I've added. There you go. So now I have reports. And when I do click on reports, it's showing me different types of reports we have. I have the burn up chart. We can use the burn up chart. Waiting, you see it's all saying waiting on the sprints, because so far we did not create a sprint. So I'm going to need the sprints and the user stories or any of those tickets to create data. And then we can have cumulative flow diagram, cycle time, use this mostly for Kanban team, and deployment frequency reports. So this all can give us all this data. But for the most part, I'm going to be using the burn down chart and velocity most of the time. So that's what's under reports. And when I do go to release, that's when I have to create fixed version and literally have to link those fixed version to the tickets. So that's what will help us track what we are releasing to production. So that's just overview of all the icons. We have the roadmap, the backlog, the board, the reports, and the releases. And then what I'm going to do next now is to show you all how to configure the board. Because if you notice in our current board, we only have to do, in progress, and done. So if you look at the three dots at the top, depending, for the most part, you click on these three dots and you click on, I can manage workflow. And remember, it's not everyone that will get this option, because in my case, I do, because I created the board. And manage custom filters, because I can create filters. And what I need is to go to configure board. Because remember, configure board is discussing this Jira Scrum project board, this board itself. Because I can add more columns, I can create swim lane, I can do and remove and add any sort of things I want based on how I see it will be beneficial for my team. So, and when you do come to configure board, you will notice that you even have more options. So under the project itself, under configuring the board. So you have the details, the access of detail of the board, the accesses you have for the board, notification, automation, issue types, futures, and the columns, which later on we're going to go to columns, and custom filters and card for this image. So let me go to details of this project just for you all to go back. So I can change the icon here. So I'm going to take this from a hot dog. So, what do you want, candy? You can do something else. But let's do rockets. Maybe I want to fly. No, let's do an airplane. I select. So that's how I already changed the icon. I want to keep the name remain as Jira Scrum. I'm not changing that. And the key, and have then sometimes you notice that if you do open your Jira currently, you might not have the access to do any of this. Just to throw that out there. So you want to choose category, manage categories. I'm not choosing any categories so as of yet. And right now it's saying that default assignee. So it's this default assignee is saying that when we do create an issue type, or when we do create a ticket, who do we want the story automatically after you create them? Who should it be assigned to? Like right here, it's automatically saying that project lead. And if you notice, I am the project lead. Make sure your project lead has access to issue in the project. So look at me right now, it have me as project lead. So I'm going to put default assignee. I'm going to change this to unassigned. So in the beginning, when we do create the tickets, we're going to have them as unassigned. And then later on, after discussion as a team, the team can have the options to go assign themselves on their tickets. So if you have that as a project, guess what? All the tickets the PO will be creating it to be under the PO name as the reporter and the assignee, and we do not want that. So I'm going to have it as unassigned. Then as a team, we discuss who is speaking on what, who's going to be assigning themselves the tasks. Because right, in Agile, we do not assign things to team. We do not push tasks at team. They should have the privilege to choose the item. They want to work together as a team and work together and get these items to done. So now I'll save these new features I just added. So then I go to access. I already invited these people so far. My colleagues, if I want to say, like, let's say I want to add more people too, I can come in and add more people. And I did that too in my last video. And notification is telling me if I want to have email notification for everyone that's coming to the board or any issues. And I do have, yes, I have notification for all of this stuff. I'm not going to automation because I need automation. So then this is the issue types. It's already showing me my issue types. This is for bug, issue type. Epic is one of them, story and tags. Those are all just different flow and the options I have. I know I can add as many as I want. I'm going to do that for the next video. So then let's come to board, column and status. So under columns and status, always if you do create a project, it's always with default to do in progress and done. So now let's say we want to add more column where we want more visibility in our work, other than just to do in progress and done. Let's say we want to have it renamed and all of that. We can also do that. So in this case, I'm going to hit in testing. I hit my check mark. And I want this in testing to come before done. So I'm just going to click on it and drag it in between in progress to testing. And looking at the board, if you notice, we have our to-do, dev in progress, in testing and done. This is how I want my board to look like. But if you notice under the page, there's this yellow warning sign. And this yellow warning sign is showing up because we do have the column in place, but we do not have the status. So sometimes I'll get Scrum Master, they will call me, they're like, oh, Aisha, I've added column to my board. But when I go back to the Scrum board view, I am unable to view the new column created. So right now, although if you look at the configuration of the columns, I did add in testing, but it's not showing on the Scrum board. Because why? We did not add status. So in order for your column to show up in your Scrum board, you must add a status. Status is something that you must add. And if you don't add status on any of the columns, it will not show on this board, on this Scrum board. So you must add status, even though you've already added the column before it can show up. You see right now, I already added the column, but I did not add the status, it's not showing up. So let's say I'm going to go back to board configuration and go back to, it did not save anyway, it disappeared. But usually at work and all, it will still remain in place, but it will not show up. So then now I'm going to add, create column in testing. Then I hit the check mark. And I will drag it and put it in between in progress and in done. So now it's telling me that I did not have a status. So I need to create a status. me to create the status, I have to go to manage workflow. So I go to manage workflow, and it's asking me if I would like to edit workflow, and I'll hit yes, I'll edit the workflow. And it brings me to this default page, because currently my default page is to do, in progress, and done. So now I want to add a in progress status, because in testing, I have to choose what kind of status I want to create. I can hit to choose in to do status. I can choose to create in progress status. I can choose to create in done. Because you know, right, sometimes we can have cancel, rejected, closed. Those all of the types that can go under done. And in progress can be under like in code review, in SIT, in UAT, and also in testing complete, or in QA, whatever they want to call, all of that's going to go under the in progress status, regardless what the name it's being called. And in to do can be ready to work on, or up next item to work on. You can call this to do, or use this to do icon to create more to do status. It is very important for you to know that it's not everybody that have this access, controlled by the company and also controlled by the Jira admin. You hardly ever see where you have an access to go over this workflow and all of that. It depends on the company. So now I want to add in testing. I'm going under the plus sign, hit plus sign, and I'm going to create the status. I'm going to create in progress. No, not we already have it in testing. I created in testing. I already created in testing status. So it's asking me to add. So there you go. So this is the new in testing that I have in place. I'm going to just move this to do done. So then I move the in testing. So now I have this. And let's say now that if you notice the transition, because this is any status, that's the transition. So let's say now I want to add transition between in progress and in testing. So then I'll add the transition, and I'll go the status from in to in testing. And I'm going to give it dev. So QA. Create. So now I already created this status between saying that the tickets must go through progress to in testing, and they must go through that rules. So that's that. So now that I have this status created, so now I can go back and add it to the board. So then I don't forget to save your changes. Now hit update workflow, and now save. So now I've saved these new changes. So now when I now come to configure my board, I now have this new column created for in testing. So now I have that. So now we have our to do, in progress, in testing, and done. So now you see the importance of status. You must have status before you can actually have things on your workboard. So then let me hit save changes. Then let me go back to board, to projects. So voila. So now I have to do, I have in progress, in testing, and done. So I have all the status and columns I want in my board. So now I have everything set up. I have the right people in my team. I know my project. We already talked about our roadmap. I have everything in place. I have the releases, which we're going to discuss later. So all that's in place. So the next video, I'm going to show you all how to create an epic, how to create a user story, and then we'll show you all how to start a sprint, how to close a sprint, and we go from there. Thank you all so much for taking your time and watch this video. Please, if you find my content valuable, like and subscribe to Jira Scrum platform. I am very happy and very appreciative of it all. And my goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by August of next year. Thank you very much, and see you all again next time.